This is In My Lounge Room, and I'm your host, Skye.
And I'm your other host, Damo, and on this week's episode, we're talking about relationship hopping, and stick around after the 9 o'clock news for the secret sound. IML-FM.
Hey, Damo.
Hey, Skye, how you doing?
Spectacular.
Oh, shit, yeah.
Spectacular.
I don't think we've used that one.
No, I
well,
don't think I have.
spectacular now, but God, I haven't seen you for an eon.
I know, it's like
Yeah.
at least 2 weeks, yeah? 3 weeks?
4.
What?
Since we recorded, yeah, because
Shit.
we had a 2-week gap.
Yeah.
And then,
And then I
no,
got...
actually, I can't remember. It's 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a long time. We usually
Yeah.
see each other every week to
Yeah.
record. Yeah.
So, no, but, there was reasons.
Yes.
I mean, the week before you had your speed dating event.
I did.
So we couldn't, fit that in because you needed to be in Fremantle by a certain time.
Yeah.
And then this week you just died.
I did die.
Yeah.
I actually thought I had COVID again. I even went and tested. My throat was so sore. I didn't have COVID. I just lost my voice and was a bit sick. I think because I'd had the boys for a month straight, and then they went, and I went, oh. And my body went.
Your body, you just relaxed.
Yeah,
and
my body went,
everything
up
fell apart.
yours.
Yeah.
Here you go. Get sick. Yeah.
So I do want to ask you how you speed baited. Speed baiting. That'd be hilarious.
Speed baiting and go.
Or baiting, or it's like I'm thinking masturbating, like just everyone sitting around in the corner in a circle and.
That's not what I was thinking. I was thinking like baiting, like cockroaches.
Okay. Our minds think differently. Having a bait.
Okay.
It's like when at school. Can we have it was a comedy sketch? And it's like, do you want to have a debate? Can we have a debate about maths, sir? A maths debate.
Oh,
anyway,
okay.
You don't need permission to masturbate. Go for your life. So how did it go?
Okay, it went terribly. Well, okay, I'll start from the beginning. So I had 20 people book, 20 people pay. I did have to move the venue because they double booked and I was very angry. So I moved it.
Yeah, but that was pretty last minute too.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
but I emailed everyone and let them all know on all the places I'd marketed it.
Yeah.
And so 2 people pulled out and I refunded them because that's totally fair.
Yeah.
One girl was in ages away.
They pulled out because the venue changed and it was inconvenient for them. Yeah,
so 100% fine. It was 2 days before the event. I refunded them. Then on the day, so that takes you down to 18.
Yeah.
Then on the day, I had one guy say he was sick.
Yeah.
And he couldn't get another ticket. And I was like, couldn't get anyone to take his ticket.
Yeah.
I was like, fine, I'm not refunding you though. That's life.
At least he contacted
Yeah.
you.
And
so
then
you expected that,
another girl messaged me going, my friend has COVID and I don't want to go. And I was
don't want
like,
to go by herself.
yeah. And I was like, you should still come. It'd be great. Blah, blah, blah. And she's like, no, can you refund us?
Some
and I'm
people
like,
can't do things on their
no,
own.
yeah. And that's fine. And I was like, no, I'm not refunding you. It's 2 p.m. and it starts in 3.5 hours.
Yeah, no, you can't do that.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, so that took it down to technically what? 15.
Yeah.
Right? Guess how many turned up?
Under 10, I think you told me. But
8.
8. So
3 guys.
What was the rate? 3 guys.
5 girls. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I was thinking if it was 15, it was going to be 7 girls, 8 guys. So I just would have jumped in and just done the dating, speed dating. But 3 and 5.
That's hard.
It was awful.
I mean, I don't want to, I wasn't there.
Yeah.
I don't know who was there.
Yeah.
I don't know if any listeners of the show were there. But if those 3
couple
men...
were, yeah.
Well, that's good. If those 3 men, because of the ratios, even if it was the other way, if it was 8 or 7 women and 3 men or whatever, the 3 in the minority, if they weren't of the highest caliber, it's going to, because you'd work that out pretty soon when you see the other women talking to them and then you're like, oh.
Yeah. And that's,
now I feel obligated.
Well, and that's sort of what happened. So,
and you're waiting your turn. Sorry.
That's okay. So I'll explain the setup. I did the setup really well. So I had them all spread out so that you wouldn't feel like you could overhear the other conversations. On each each person got a little form they could fill in so they could make comments about each person, whether they were happy to exchange numbers, etc.
Okay.
And I gave them a list of questions each on a piece of paper, just conversations.
Yeah.
Now I did hear you guys.
And you're not obligated to conformed like that.
No.
If you want to ask your own questions, you can.
Yeah, but for those who are super shy and really struggle, like, you know, it's like when you're at
It's
like
good.
a networking event and you're like, how's the weather? You know, because you you know.
Oh, it's a good idea.
Yeah, so I made it really, I spoon-fed them pretty much.
Yeah.
That was the plan. And unfortunately, like only 3 guys, 5 girls. We still did it. I said to everyone, we're still doing this. The 3 guys sat and the rest of us sat in this sort of central table, and then they just sort of rotated. The girls just rotated through.
Okay, so you didn't have a lazy Susan with the
There
men
was
on it
no,
that you spun
oh my
around?
gosh, there was no, I know, I had heard that. I was like, guys, just stop it. I didn't have a chance and I couldn't defend myself.
I know, that's why we did it. Because
so
I even
funny.
said that. I said, Skye's not here, so we can say whatever we want.
Yeah. And I was listening going,
We didn't say anything bad.
no, but I was like, yeah, you guys are clearly anti-speed dating. It's hilarious. Not
No,
just
not
speed
anti-speed
dating
dating.
is like, I have to be truthful. I've gone to 2 speed dating events and I haven't actually done it. I'm emceed one and then I hosted this one.
Yeah. But not anti-speed dating, but I'm critical of everything.
Yeah, I know you are.
Everything's hilarious. in
Yeah,
some
so,
way.
I mean,
and the whole concept is just foreign to me. But
Yeah.
I just like you imagine it from a comedic point of view that you chuck the men on a little turntable.
Yeah, and you just turn
and
them
you
around.
just spin 'em.
I mean, it's sort of how it works because they have to go around the room.
Yeah, yeah.
The girls move. No, the guys move.
So a
The guys
lazy
move.
Susan with whoever's in, like whoever you choose to be in the middle of the circle.
Yeah.
A lazy Susan would work.
Yeah, true.
Or
yeah.
like just a big turntable.
That'd
like, have you
be
seen that?
amazing.
Oh no, God, like
On like Pulp Fiction almost. You know how?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I'm more thinking of like Wipeout.
Oh, I love that show.
You know, with like
yeah.
it'll have like the rotating
Yeah.
thing to get across.
You could do that
yeah.
for speed dating. Yeah.
Yeah.
Make it
Except
really fun
you
and crazy.
And it just spins around
Yeah.
really fast, and
So
you're
it's
blindfolded.
it's like the chocolate wheel. Wherever
Yeah.
it stops,
Yeah.
this is your date.
and then you're like, I've already spoken to you, and
And then
it was gross.
spin again. Yeah. Yeah. So, and like,
And snowball.
oh, yeah. So my friend Dee, I
Yeah.
don't know, can I say her name? I have now.
It doesn't matter. No one knows.
She said that exact same thing. She said, and snowball when we were like before we started. And I was like, oh my God, it's exactly what Damo said. That's
Yeah.
hilarious. Also it says your generation because she's like
Yes.
probably 3-4 years older than you. So
Okay, yeah.
definitely in the
No,
same.
that was the thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, like I said, that goes back to like the 50s, I think.
Yeah. But pretty much anyone who is like 35 and under probably has no concept of what that means.
Yeah, it's just like, on that. I saw a thing recently, and it was a meme. It's been jumping around for years when this happened, but it was like you see screenshots of Twitter, and we consider that a meme these days. I suppose it's not technically a meme, but anyway,
Yeah.
And it was from when Kanye and Paul McCartney collaborated.
Oh, yeah.
And all these people going, oh, so good of Kanye to be giving unknown artists. I don't know who this Paul
So
McCartney character
hilarious.
is, but his career is about to blow up, because he's collaborated with Kanye, and it's
My
like,
goodness.
oh my God.
I didn't realize that people were saying that.
Yeah, but
Oh.
that's sheer ignorance. That's got nothing to do with age, because like, if you haven't heard of Paul McCartney, but then again, I've just stopped myself there. If you're a Kanye fan, there's probably something wrong with you
Definitely.
anyway. Sorry to all
These
the Kanye
days,
fans
yes.
out there, but his music's not that great, and he's a bit of a dickhead.
He's
But
a misogynist and yeah.
there's plenty of he's a psycho.
Yes,
There's
he
plenty
is.
of other more talented rappers that you can listen to if that's your game. But
Agreed.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Where were we going with this?
We were just talking about speed dating and
snowballing,
like,
yeah.
snowball and old things.
Yeah. So I would say that it was a disaster.
Well, it still took place and nobody died. Hey, just interrupting right now. The following is a story that Skye tells about the speed dating event that she held, in which we were relating it to being a positive outcome from the dating because this couple met. Unfortunately, the person who was being spoken about felt that we gave too much details about her to make her able to be identified. We were incredibly vague. We don't mention her name once. We do mention someone else's name. I've bleeped that person's name out and removed references to locations. But it's incredibly vague. No one knows who this person is. And we thought it was a positive story. It wasn't supposed to be negative or criticising anyone. But, just thought I'd jump in and let you know that the next 2 or 3 minutes, maybe slightly more, is heavily edited for that reason. enjoy. And back to Skye telling the story.
True. And like one couple, well, one girl and guy did end up like,
They went on a date?
well, they went.
Oh, they went on a, hey, let's get out of here.
Anyway, I think that the funniest thing was, okay, so this is what happened. I'm telling the story now. So
Yeah.
sorry to...
We'll go her person number one.
Yeah. Anyway, so we all leave. Like they'd been
Yeah.
chatting, and we'd had a good night. And then so our friend
Yep.
and this person
Yeah.
number one, I'd driven them there and we were driving home.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, she starts messaging him and then she's like, oh, he's still at the pub and he wants me to come back to the pub. And I'm like, we're like near like on the way back to Mandurah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm like, okay, we can stop at a servo and get an Uber. You can get an Uber. But I said, I'm not turning around and going back to
Yeah.
Freo. Like, it's not happening. And she said, no, I don't expect that. I'm like, okay, fine. So then she calls him, and I think she called him. Yeah, she must have. And then so we're like, we'll go to the servo. There was a servo nearby.
Yeah.
And we'll see if we can get an Uber from there.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, she's like, I don't have an Uber. And I'm like, I'll book the Uber and then he can just pay for it. He can transfer the money.
doesn't
So
have
this is so, I know, right? Yes. I'm like, who doesn't have Uber?
Yeah.
Anyway, so I booked an Uber and it turned up and off she went from this like servo. yeah. But just this, it was so random. And then I'm there with I just like, this is so random.
What a great success story.
It
then.
was.
So so definitely not a disaster.
No.
Not a failure. Just
No.
not as you could have expected. I mean, but let's just say the people who didn't turn up without telling you, that's their loss.
Yeah,
I mean, you still
totally.
had an event.
Also, they
You
paid for it.
Yeah, you still got to. I mean, you had to pay for the venue and the food.
Yeah.
So it's not like that was like, I'm just going to get money.
No, I wasn't there going,
you had
woo, yeah.
Yeah, Benjamins.
Exactly.
What's that song from where they talk about the Benjamin? It's all about the Benjamins. Anyway,
Yeah,
sorry, that's from the 90s.
Yeah. Yes,
but,
yes.
Yeah, so it's not like it was a complete failure.
No.
It's just different.
I did randomly meet someone who ended up being an idiot. So I gave him my number. I was trying to recruit.
Oh, okay.
Randomly around the pub. And I'm like, hello, are you single? Would you like to go speed dating? I did that to like so many people. I even did it to random like couples. I'm like, do you guys want to come speed
at the
dating?
pub?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like walking past, a couple of like cars going slowly. I'm like, do you want to go speed dating? And they were just like, whoa, who is this weirdo on the side of the road?
Drive faster.
Yeah. And because I was wearing like my big like, fur, like faux fur, obviously coat, looking
Yeah.
like some crazy lady, like, woo!
Yeah, but I saw your photos. You had makeup on and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
It's not like I saw a photo of your last speed dating thing you MC'd and you're wearing your basketball.
Oh, yeah.
shirt.
Because I wasn't planning on, I was just MCing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I literally was wearing my basketball t-shirt. And hadn't I done a podcast with you?
No,
No.
it was just the same shirt.
Yeah.
The time you turned up with your basketball shirt on, which is not unusual for you.
No.
Was that you just had your glamour photo shoot.
That's
and You
right.
were fully glammed up and you had your hair done and your makeup, like you had the full on
Yeah.
evening makeup
Yeah.
on.
With-
And we're sitting there in the middle of the day, basketball shirt,
Yeah.
shorts.
Yeah, that's the way I roll.
Yeah,
But
that's cool.
Yeah.
Can you imagine
Yeah.
coaching the boys like that?
Be
Turning
hilarious.
up like fully glammed up.
Yeah. Go, guys. Yeah. Defense.
This is normal. What are you
Defense
this
is I'm
is
like
just how
flicking my hair.
Oh God. Anyway.
Okay, so enough about me. Let's talk about you for a second. What do you think about me?
Yeah. Is that a speed dating thing? So enough about me.
be.
So what about you think of me?
Yeah. No.
Classic. Yeah, well, I've had an interesting few weeks.
I know.
So I've changed jobs.
Yes.
My new job is, well, I can't really talk about it.
Okay, but just say you've got a new job and it's awesome.
Yeah, new job and it's awesome and they pay me well. Although because of the change, when you start a job in the middle of the
No,
pay
I hate
cycle,
that. Yeah.
I'm not actually getting paid until the next pay cycle because it'll be 3 weeks.
Mm.
And the company that I just left has not been particularly wonderful in the whole process.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, they weren't anyway, so they've been worse?
No. Well, I mean, I did mention how ticked off I was about just not ticked off, but kind of just disappointed because when someone generally leaves a job, like you message me and you're like, oh, did you get a cake or anything?
Yeah.
Nothing.
That's
people
really bad.
like my last day. It was like, oh, yeah, it's my last day, and they're like, people are like, oh, that came around quickly. Oh, okay, nothing.
Wow.
My manager was working from home that day. He called me and was like, oh, thanks for everything. The head of HR was working from home that day. I didn't see anyone. And like my teammates, well, I got a phone call from, one that lives in Queensland. She called me and I set up a meeting and we just sat there in a meeting room and chatted for an hour.
Oh, nice.
But, that's all it was. She's the only person who acknowledged me leaving.
That's terrible.
There was no when my team members left, when I was a manager, my team members met. We put on a morning tea and
That's how it should be. Yeah, flowers.
Even if there's no gift, it's just like still acknowledge it. Nope. For me, nothing.
That's
when weird. Catalina left, she had a morning tea and then they just gave me a card in her last day presentation. But that was 3 weeks prior.
Yeah.
So I already had my... we've all signed a card 3 weeks before I left. So on my last day, it's like, okay, bye then. And everyone, the whole office is like, oh, wow, we're going to miss you. Didn't realize you were leaving. I'm like, yeah, okay, bye.
I've never...
feel so respected.
That's never happened to me. I've always had lunches and cards and good luck.
It put a real sour taste in my mouth that just made me feel super undervalued. The whole process of what happened... from the reason I left made me feel super undervalued anyway, which is why I left.
So really, that was the sprinkles on top, really.
It did, and it just really ruined the entire time.
Yeah, because I remember when you got the job, and you were you sounded awesome, and you were so happy that you were moving to the next.
Oh, don't get me wrong, the managing director.
Yeah,
it's a freaking legend.
Yeah,
great guy. Loved working with him. Worked personally with him. His office was right next to my desk and really great interactions with him. The business at large, there were people different managers and stakeholders, the board of directors, got along really well with everyone, worked really well with everyone. But it didn't, that's not what it comes down to. So it's just that last kind of, go back and do this other job.
Yeah, and now you're just a piece of rubbish.
I didn't like your style.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just kind of felt ignored. And then... when I got my last pay this week, so a week after I left, it was for one fortnight's pay, which was the reduced pay because I took a pay cut before I left to go down to that job because I was on a secondment. Secondment didn't get extended for reasons.
Yeah.
Went down to the previous pay level, which is the reason I left because I can't survive on that amount of money. So this fortnight, I've gone out in the last week or two and bought a few suits because the job I'm working in now it's a completely different level, different environment. So I'm bought a couple of suits, bought some new shoes, spent a bit of money on setting myself up for the new job because I'm well, that's cool because I'm going to get my holiday leave entitlement because I've got 122 hours of holiday pay. Yeah. And another thing that pisses me off is that I accrued that holiday leave
in the higher
pay bracket.
Yep.
But then I gave my notice when I was in that higher pay bracket. But then when I've gone down to the lower pay bracket, when I left, so I was in that lower pay bracket for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So therefore, I'm going to get paid out 122 hours of holiday pay based on the lower pay rate, which is rude.
Is it slightly wrong as well?
Yeah, but that's what it is. It doesn't matter what rate you're on when you accrue leave. It's what you get paid at when you go. So basically,
I think they would have just done it
the
just as a thank you.
Is probably about $2,000.
Right, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So because the difference in pay was about $500 a week.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Clear.
Yeah.
So it works out to be almost $2,000 that I'm missing out on.
Wow.
And I didn't get any of it. Because I worked the last 3 days because I finished up on a Monday. Well, technically I took 3 days leave so I could leave early. But my pay week finished on a Monday, so it's 3 days into the new pay cycle. So when I've contacted them going, I've only got the last fortnight's pay, they're like, oh yeah, because you finished in an off week, that'll go into the next pay run. And so I'm like, well, that's great. So I've got a reduced pay and then a 3 week gap I've got a buffer. Yeah. But I went and spent so much money that now I'm shit's going to get a little bit tight now. Yeah. So, it was just annoying to then go, well, I hate, just wondering. So yeah, so the whole experience was a very sour one. But anyway, I just want to get back to speed dating.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Right?
Yeah, okay.
Because it brings to mind parallels with the topic that we primarily want to discuss.
Does. Yeah, okay.
Which I've termed, and this isn't.
No,
like
I like it. I like it a lot.
Relationship hopping.
Yeah, I think it's a perfect term.
Which I define as going from one relationship to the next with no discernible break time to, be alone.
Like, do you think there's any break time, or is it like?
I think we could put a limit of time on it, but also you've got two different ways of looking at it, which we can discuss. Mm-hmm. So one is people have been in a relationship, and I'm terming a relationship more than 3 months of exclusivity. Mm-hmm. And when I say exclusivity, that includes poly relationships because they're exclusive.
Yeah,
they're just exclusive with more than one person. So 3 months of exclusivity, no dating anyone else, just you two or you 3 or 4, whatever, you people, that together, that's it. And then that breaks up, and then immediately, whether that be within a week or the next day, you're going on dates potentially with someone else in a relationship. Because people who are relationship jumpers don't sleep around, don't go on multiple dates. They tend to, and I'm generalizing here, and people are probably going to swear at me, what they tend to do in my experience and my observations is they'll jump straight back onto online dating. Like, people have been in a relationship for like 6 months to a year. The day they break up, bam, straight onto Tinder with the premise, I'm just going to go and get laid. But the first person that they get a date with, or the first person they match with, they then go on a date with, they get into a relationship with that person because they're so desperate to be back in a relationship.
My ex-husband, when I was telling my sister about today's episode, and I said to her, relationship hopping, and she said, oh, what's that? And I started explaining, and then she's like, oh, you mean so-and-so?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, because he went from one relationship where the girl moved in with his family and they were together. Then he went to the next one where he ended up marrying her. Yeah. And then he went to me. He wasn't even divorced yet. In fact, they were separated like maybe a couple of weeks, and then he met me, and then we got together and moved in. Yeah. Then straight after me was another girl. Straight after her was another girl. Yeah. Straight after her was the current girl he's with.
Yeah. And it's
he's never, ever, weeks.
Apart from now.
Yeah.
Because you've been single for a while and it's not necessarily your choice.
It's totally my choice.
Yeah, of course it is, right?
I love it.
But not all the time.
I love
you know
it
what
so
I mean?
much.
Like, sometimes we don't have a choice.
Yeah.
But what's the average time that you spend getting over a relationship before you feel that you're prepared to go into the next one?
Oh, months.
Yeah. So
So the American, I mean, like, I would consider that a relationship. Yeah. Bad, but it was. It was 5 months or whatever. Yeah. I just I hate men. I don't want to talk to any of them. You know what I mean? I was like, no, I need to let myself feel like a good person, feel confident again. So yes. And then obviously so when I separated from my husband, I went the opposite way. I went, woo!
Yeah, but that's just... You went out and hoed around.
Yeah, but I didn't go straight into I wasn't even interested. No. So, yeah, I would say months.
Yeah, but it also comes down to, the kind of person. Like, if you are the kind of person who's going to jump into a relationship, the whole hoeing around thing's not a good idea because you can't do it.
No.
You will just fall in love with someone super quick. If you're capable of just, putting that aside and just going, hey, by the way, I'm just here to bang. Yeah. Then they'll go, all right, no worries, cool, me man, bang. Yeah,
and it worked. It worked perfectly for, the first 6 months. Maybe a bit longer, I can't remember. Yeah. I was just like, yes, this all I want is to be like, yes, I am an attractive woman. Yeah. And it was perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. So... I've known people who there's a crossover as well where they start to be interested. They're not necessarily cheating or seeing other people, but they start to become less interested in the person they're with, and they start to become interested in someone else, and then they break up, and so they've already got someone to then shoot across to.
So that's a bit like my sister's ex-husband. There's definitely a crossover. We don't whether he was cheating, we don't know. But there's definitely a crossover.
They just kind of swoop in there.
Yeah,
I'm gonna admit that I've done that once.
Yeah, okay.
Right? And it happened when I met Billy's mum.
Right.
Okay. Now, I was her boss,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and he's shaking your head like I was 25
It's
years
fine.
old.
It's fine. I'm just kidding. Go
so
on.
I was dating this girl, and it just wasn't great.
Mm-hmm.
We'd been together for about 3 months, and it wasn't really doing it for me.
Yeah.
There was all sorts of kind of like issues.
Okay.
Where I think I've described this before, where she wrote me a letter telling me how she wanted me to change and not spend so much time with my songwriting partner and all that kind of
which
stuff.
makes perfect sense when you're a muso.
And then she would buy me clothes that were like the clothes her friends wore, not like the kind of clothes I wore.
Nice.
And just was like trying to change. And then one day I woke up and I didn't like her smile.
That's right.
And so
The smile.
Now all this time, like towards the end, once I discovered these few things that were kind of playing on my mind, I'm talking to Billy's mum at work every Friday night.
Yeah.
We work together. And we'd sit out the back in the kitchen and we'd just talk about my relationship. And she was kind of like, oh, yeah, it doesn't sound like it's going good. Or, maybe you should break up with her. Eventually, I broke up with her. And then that weekend, we hooked up, right?
Well, but there'd already been something. It's not like you went out looking.
No,
right.
and we didn't have. I didn't have any romantic intentions with her. She was just someone I worked with who was there for me.
Yeah.
That I talked to every week. We got along really well. And then I came in one day and I'm like, oh, broke up with her, and she's like, oh, that's probably a good move. And then like on that weekend, she's like, oh, me and this other girl we worked out who I can't remember her name, we're going to play pool at the Hyde Park Hotel this week. Do you want to come and play pool? I'm like, yeah, cool. So I went and played pool with them because it was like, I can hang out with these girls.
Yeah.
And then it started from there, and I drove her home, and then like it kind of escalated from there. And in hindsight, I'm like, she was planting the seed.
Yeah.
Because she was interested.
Yes.
And then we were together for 16 years.
Yeah, so that's okay.
But, I went straight from, but it was only, I was also 25. I'm not justifying it. But I had a relationship for 3 months and went straight from that one to another one. And prior to that, I had done that a bit, but it was within like a month.
Okay.
This one, it was that week.
What about after Billy's mum?
No.
Yeah.
I was like a year.
You were like a monk.
Yeah, no, for an entire year I didn't have anything to do with women.
Yeah. So I went the opposite. It's so hilarious. You were like, no, and I was like, woo, freedom.
Yeah, no, I was like, I need to not.
Yeah.
Plus I was like hopeful that we could like work things out.
Yeah, okay.
And
Yeah, so I was in such a different
clearly
position.
wasn't going
yeah.
to. And then after that, was with someone for 6 months, and then we broke up, and then nothing for like 3 to 6 months. And then her and I actually 6 months, so it must have been about 6 months later, we just started sleeping together, like after, like let's just be lovers kind of thing. And then now we're just really good friends.
Yeah.
Like, so that all kind of disappeared.
Yeah.
But then we didn't see each other for ages. And now we're just like, oh, we can be mates.
Yeah.
I'm not mates with all my exes.
Yeah, right.
But with her, she's one of my best friends.
Yeah.
And you know who I'm talking about.
I do.
But
yeah.
But it's.
I've never actually met her.
Well, you will. But we went out for burgers last night. It was great. She's seeing a really wonderful guy, as I just spoke to you earlier. But and then after that, it was like 3 to 6 months single, and then a relationship for 5 months, about 6 months single, relationship for a year and 3 months, 6 months single, relationship for a year. It kind of like, I always make sure 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
People say you should have like
a mourning period.
Yeah, I mean, there's a calculation of time. Like if you've spent a year with someone, you need to spend a quarter of that time getting over the person. If you've spent 3 years with someone, you spend a year getting over them. I think that's extreme, because if you've spent 20 years with someone, you can't spend 5 years getting over them. That's ridiculous.
No.
But I think 3 to 6 months.
Yeah, I think there's definitely
normal.
a mourning period.
See, there was also times where I went and got therapy in the middle of that.
Yeah.
Like where I've gone, well, I need to really work on myself. And I did.
Yeah, okay.
But what about yourself prior, like, you said that straight away period. Is there times where But that was straight away into just enjoying yourself because you wanted to feel wanted.
Yeah.
Have you had times where you've gone, I think I've gone a bit quickly here?
No, because before my ex, so I was just a skank.
Yeah.
No, not really, everyone. I was a drama student who just loved people.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
And attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And lots of it. So I would say, and I lived in a backpackers. So me before I was in a relationship with Adrian, can I say his name? Oh, I have now.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I can cut it out if you don't want it.
I don't really care. I was a uni student who was just like loving life. I wasn't really, and it was only because I think I got to that point where I was like, I really want a boyfriend. And then he came along and he could fill up a tank.
Yeah.
And I went, you'll do.
Yeah.
And so then it was 14 years. So and then I've spent like pretty much 5 years. So I've had a good mourning period.
Right. I think when I was younger, like, my early 20s, I was kind of like, because I thought I was super unattractive. So therefore, I was just like, she likes me. Therefore, I'm going to put some effort into this and make a commitment. It's not the healthiest things to do. It's not been into like the last 5 or 6 years where I've gone, you know what? Yeah, no, I'm worthy of not having to just accept that someone's into me.
Yeah.
So in those days, like when I was like 20, I'd meet a girl and she'd be into me and I'd be like, awesome.
I think that's like, to be honest, not comparing you, but I think that's sort of like how my ex-husband did it.
Yeah.
So like I know he cheated on his girlfriend with the wife he was married to before me. So I feel like...
See, for me, it was just like a complete lack of self-esteem. And I think for a lot of men and women, it's also not having to put effort in.
Yeah.
That wasn't
much
for me,
easier.
But because I don't mind putting the effort in. But for some people, I think it's just... Well, this person's here and they're into me, so I'll just go with that.
Yeah, and I think I've done that a couple of times when I've like dated people for a few. I don't really think I've had a lot of serious relationships. It's been more dating for a while.
Yeah.
Like so that it's like attention, you'll do. Also, sorry, I just need to read this. There's a bit. I found a bit of a thing on a mental health and mourning relationship website where they say there's no magic number for how long to wait before beginning a new relationship.
No.
Think in terms of months rather than weeks. Some experts suggest that you should wait a month for every year. So
yeah, that's what I meant before.
Yeah.
It's like, but if it's been 20 years, 20 months is nearly 2 years.
yeah.
That's a hell of a long time.
So then I'm reading more and they're saying most people need a month or two to process the breakup, to mourn and to integrate lessons before jumping back in.
Agreed.
So it's a bit like when you lose someone you love.
Yeah.
You do, like my sister who mentioned that she was with him from 18 to 38.
Yeah.
It's 20 years of her life.
Yeah.
She's just gone on dating apps.
Right, yeah.
But she still has moments where she's like, because he's in a relationship, I just see him being happy and I hate, why aren't I happy? I'm like, you will be happy. You are happy. Dating apps probably won't make you happy.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting, like that video that I sent you this morning.
That video was great. We should put a link to that video, actually.
It's great.
Yes.
That's an awesome channel, that actually. Viva La Dirt League.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's a video on women's experience on Tinder.
Yeah.
As if it's like
a job interview almost. Yeah. The fish guy just got me.
It was...
Anytime a guy has a fish on Tinder still, I just automatically swipe left.
That persona that they created for the fish guy,
I know,
was
right?
just
And I
perfect.
like hunting.
I like to kill things. Want to see a dead animal?
Yeah.
Hey, check it out. I shot a deer.
Yes, the deer thing. I'm like, oh my gosh.
And then at the end, the really nice guy who's just perfect, and he's like, oh, wait, would you like to see this? And just pulls his pants down.
Yes, that's the story of my life.
Because I was waiting the whole time. I'm like, where's the dick pic guy?
Yeah, and there he is. It's always the guy that seems really nice and
Yeah.
just randomly turns up. I've told you I've received like masturbating videos that I didn't ask for. So from guys that I was not expecting that. Yeah.
It's we call it the Spanish Inquisition. I mean, no one expects the Spanish Inquisition. Maybe that's the new term.
Maybe.
The dick pics, the Spanish Inquisition.
Well, sort of is, isn't it?
Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition. Yeah, I don't know. We've spoken about dick pics before.
Oh, we can talk about it forever.
The consent and the weirdness and the mental health issues that come behind men who feel that they need to, I don't know what they think. I don't know. I think I need to write a thesis.
Yes.
On the whole thing.
Yes.
But, yeah.
Go and do your PhD on online dating.
On dick pics. Yeah.
Actually, there are professors now though. Like I was listening to a podcast about dating, and they get professors of online dating. That's what they've done their PhD in.
Oh, cool. There's also
obviously they're psychologists as well.
Yeah. It's not just someone off the street who's I'm gonna do this.
Yeah.
But you can also can't you like do a degree in The Simpsons at some university in America?
Probably. I know you can do a surfing degree like at the Margaret River or the Bunbury ECU.
Yeah, that's Margaret River though.
Yeah, I mean that's awesome too.
But then,
I've got a bachelor in surfing.
It doesn't surprise me that in America you can do a degree on The Simpsons because fucking America. Can we just talk about America for a second?
I'm amazed we've lasted this long. Let's go. Who's going first?
I know for a fact that we have listeners in the United States right now. And I just want to apologize on behalf of the rest of the world that you have misogynistic old white men running your country.
Yeah. I cried. I know that sounds super dramatic.
Obviously, we're talking about the wrong way.
Yeah.
Universal thing,
as a woman, like I myself haven't had an abortion, but I've had friends and family who have, and I just like the fact that I have the ability to choose.
Yeah.
They've lost that ability.
No,
it's gone.
You know, in certain places.
Yeah.
But
obviously not rich white women. They're fine.
Yeah. And you or you have to meet a certain criteria.
Yeah.
You have to be judged about your reasons.
Yeah.
And like I saw a comment on your Facebook where someone had said, "Oh, you know," or you might have replied, or I don't know who said it. It was about like, "Oh, yeah, but if it's like for medical reasons or something like that, it shouldn't matter what the reason is. If you get pregnant and you don't want to be pregnant,
then that's your body.
That's your body. It's your right." And like, "Oh, but you know, you're taking the life of." Oh yeah, but you're allowed to have automatic weapons and walk into
guns
a school.
Are fine. Yeah.
Like
so guns at you've had guns at abortion clinics. Before, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's right. Or let's just rather than like these unwanted children or these people who are incapable of raising children or whatever the case may be.
Or who wants to have...
How about we just have those children and then when they grow up, we'll just send them to school because they're probably going to get murdered there.
Probably.
That'll be the answer.
Yeah, so it's all good.
Yeah, it's all good.
It all works. Circle of life and all that.
It's terrible. So, I mean, what's next? They're going to reverse gay marriage?
They're talking about it.
Have contraception?
Like one of the justices has come out saying next on the agenda is contraception and gay marriage.
He's just shit. I mean, what the hell?
I know. Contraception, we've had that right. I can't even remember when the pill was the thing, but
But it's just so contradictory. We're not going to let you use contraception, but if you accidentally get pregnant, you're not allowed to terminate it either.
So what they're doing is they're making us, walking wombs. It's like, I don't want to say there's a lot of talk about
it's fucking Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah, but see, the Handmaid's Tale was written based on history of thousands of years of women anyway being, basically being wombs. So now,
but it's also kind of, in a way, it's one of those Black Mirror kind of situations. It's just turning back on on yourself, on society, a mirror going, this is how bad it could be.
Yeah, and this is how, and it is going to be that bad. So like even we've talked before when we're talking about randomly about the Gentile period, when Jane Austen, etc. Because we're Bridgerton, I think, and the whole concept of
great music, bad morals.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes, the whole concept of like the dowry for the virginity, and that she is a pretty womb, pretty much.
Yeah, she's a possession, like a sheep.
Because I follow Sean King on Instagram, which is Black Lives Matter, very powerful, a man about Black lives and what justice, right? And I love his page, but his wife's come out and said man? He is. Yeah. His wife's just come out and said that this is a black issue because for 400 years black women haven't had a right, etc. And I actually commented and said, you know what, in this case, this is a female issue. Yeah. And wombs have been used for thousands of years. Jewish women, Iranian women, Chinese women. Yeah. This is not a race issue. No. This is a gender issue. Yeah. And the fact that women are losing control of their own bodies.
Yeah. And there's no positive for it. And it's just kind of it makes me think about when I talk about in America the way that things run there,
that country
versus here in Australia. I know that sitting here from afar we can comment.
Oh, it's really easy.
But look at our new Prime Minister was raised by a single
mum.
mum.
Yeah.
And I believe she was an immigrant.
And she was on a disability pension as well. So there was,
And I mean, and he listens to punk rock, which is cool.
Yeah,
but,
he's pretty awesome.
And then
he's got a de facto partner. They're not even married.
And
Woo!
then he like turns up for his first media appointment, and there's an Aboriginal flag.
Yeah, he's like, why isn't there an Aboriginal flag?
He didn't make a big deal about it.
No.
He didn't say, oh, and now we're being inclusive. He didn't go for look at me points or like, he just did it.
Yeah, because it should have been done.
Yeah.
And what I was when I thought about it, I was like, how have I fucking never noticed that?
Yeah.
That there's been an Aboriginal flag missing.
Yeah.
That really made me upset. I was like, oh my God, that proves that I'm so white.
Important. So I just thought I'd mention that. So really sorry to the people in the US that you have to go through this and you have to live with this because your country's fucked.
It is.
Basically.
There's so many things about that country. I would never live there.
Yeah.
Ever.
I think Karen today on Facebook, she's like, she loves visiting America and it's been her best times she's ever had on holiday and she's never going back.
No.
Yeah.
But just everything about it, like gun laws are ridiculous.
And while we're at it, Karen, next time when you got some fresh mushrooms, hit me up because they were great.
Yeah, she was talking about that actually, her mushrooms and her avocados that she's growing.
Yeah, avocado tree, yeah, saw that,
yeah. So like America has bad gun laws. Now abortion is illegal. Yeah. Their healthcare system is shite.
Yeah.
Their tax system. I just listened to a podcast.
They kill black people just because.
Just because they're black. And gay people just because. Yeah.
And then bomb brown people in other countries.
Yeah, they're great. And then I listened to this podcast about the IRS and how the IRS basically created similar to what we have where you could do your taxes online for free. But Congress, thanks to lobbyists, voted in that instead they would use these H&R Block and all these other tax companies where people would have to pay to get their to get free. It would be free, but then they'd be like, oh, oops, so sorry, you have to click this to pay $50 to $100. Yeah. And then they almost voted for this to happen forever, and the IRS was losing funding because they couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, these companies were earning billions, and then finally they went, oh, hang on, actually. No. And now they've just, there's this huge lawsuit done and all these people, I'm talking millions of Americans, are now getting all their money back.
What about healthcare?
Oh, I could go on about that forever.
Yeah.
So you can, if you break a finger, make sure it's the right finger that your healthcare covers in a certain kilometre around. You mean that's how ridiculous it is.
We
so
just
insane.
take for granted this whole socialised healthcare thing that we have here. People just fight against the idea of that in the US. And it's just why? It's because of money.
For example, so on Monday, my eldest son, on Sunday night, actually, he told me he was in pain. And I just was like, sure, Sunday night, whatever. Monday morning, he's in agony. We go to hospital. Well, first I went to the doctors, was bulk billed. And they were like, go straight to the emergency. We think it's appendicitis. Was there for 10, 15 minutes, straight to see a doctor. You know what I mean? In America, they'd have to pay first before they could see the doctor. Yeah. I didn't pay for anything. I had.
If you don't have the right amount, if you don't have the right health insurance, you're not coming in.
Yeah. So
people have a bad accident.
Yeah.
And they're
as long as their right leg or something like that. That's how ridiculous insurance is.
Don't take me to the hospital because I can't afford it.
Yeah. I'll just die.
Yeah.
I'll just bleed out. Yeah. So my oldest son basically had doctor's appointment, emergency, blood test, ultrasound. I paid nothing. He's fine now. But
with Billy, when she hurt her neck a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
So mum's taken her to the hospital. They've triaged her and then gone, all right, this is potentially a neck injury. We need to treat this very seriously. So she's gone up into the emergency. They've put a neck brace on her. They have then given her a CAT scan to make sure she hasn't got any brain damage, and they've done neck x-rays to make sure there's no spinal damage. They've kept her in overnight in the bloody orthopedic spinal care ward, with round-the-clock care. The children's hospital here also has frickin' a parent's bed in every room
amazing.
That you can see. It's like a hotel room. So she's in there in a private room, with this, and this wasn't, it cost nothing.
Yeah.
They just, you go to hospital and you just get it dealt with. But, it's a whole, the world's a funny place, but we live in a very lucky country.
We are so lucky. I don't think, and it's better now because obviously we have new government.
Yeah.
But, yes, we are super lucky.
Yeah. But it's even still, you know what, speaking of government and guns, Saw a comment on a group. It's like a really terribly one-sided group that I'm not a member of, but I have commented in there before, and Facebook's algorithm now presents me with, in my newsfeed, this group. It's called Relationship Rules, okay? It's a shit show of a place. It's very one-sided man-bashing, which is fine because sometimes men need to be bashed, but at the same time, it's like, women do this too.
Yeah.
But anyway, there was a comment, and I'm getting off track because this is a different one. I made some comments in there about some shit, and then people are like, oh, yeah, it's so anti-men. And I'm just like, that's not what I said. Like, people just kind of put that perspective. Thinking about guns, right? So that was the whole American thing. I made a comment in a science enthusiast, right? And they were talking about a scientific study, the correlation between gun violence and gun ownership in America, right? You don't have to have 30 years of study to work out that if there are guns, there will be gun violence,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
So everyone's like, a lot of very left-wing people in there going, yep, agree. And occasionally people going, don't take my gun, that's my Second Amendment right to bear arms. Yeah, in frickin' 1800,
yes.
when your gun shot one bullet and then you had to reload it. And now we've got automatic weapons firing 200 rounds a second. You can mow down 30
and they were
schoolchildren.
they'd come from England. They were protecting their land.
Yeah. That was reason.
There was a civil war going on.
And even before the Civil War, when the British fighting against the British. But then I mentioned, so in 1996 in Port Arthur, Tasmania, Martin Bryant killed 35 people and injured 23 more, in which at that point in time was the largest mass murder in history, mass killing from a single person in history. It still ranks as number 11 in the world in mass killings, including those that are like terrorist attacks where like 4 or more people. Although that one man, that Christchurch one, was it?
Oh,
where he went into the mosque. Yeah. That ranks pretty highly because he killed a lot of people. But it's still one of the highest things. However, at the time, John Howard, who we all hate.
Yes, but in this
one
case,
thing he did, he initiated the gun buyback scheme. People handed their guns over, got money for the guns, and guess what? No more mass murders. Now, someone did point out that there's been 3 familicide killings, right? Where that guy down south here in WA killed himself and his wife, his daughter, and their 2 children. So there were 7 people died there.
That's very different to walking into a school.
Familicide is a very specific subgenre of mass murder. And then there was another one over east where the father killed 4 members of his family. A mass murder is considered more than 4 people, like by a technical sense. So this guy pointed out, but these 3, he goes, that's not technically correct. There has been mass killing since 1996. And I'm like, I didn't even enter into it, but they're different. Like, and only one of them was actually more than 4 people. And that was a crazy man or a depressed man or whatever who killed his family.
This is different.
But it is proven. And then some freaking moron, he's put in this meme with like, since 1996 in Australia, armed robberies up 61%.
What's that got to do with it?
Gun killing, gun murders up 19%. All this other up, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay. So since 1996, the Australian population, and I Googled all my statistics to make sure, because in my head I'm like, I know this, but I need to make sure for the numbers, because it always looks better to quote actual statistics.
Always,
So Australia's population, do you know off the top of your head how much has increased by since 1996?
I'm going to say like 11%.
42%.
Oh, whoa. Okay.
Okay, so we had 16 million people in 1996. 18 million people. Now we've got 26 million.
That's a big difference.
42% increase.
Wow,
so
goodness.
A 19% increase in gun murders, even though his figures were from a meme.
Yeah.
And that's not a citation. No. 19% increase
That's actually
in
really
gun
good
murders
if you think
versus
about
a
it.
42% increase in population.
So technically gun violence is going down.
Yes. Because
So
wouldn't it
shut up.
Wouldn't
Yeah.
it technically be a 42%
Yes,
increase if
you
the
would think
population
so.
and also considering that the world we live in with access to social media and censorship has changed, there is more. You would expect more violence in society.
Yeah.
Yet and I said, oh, thanks for posting that because you've just proven my point.
Yeah.
And people just got stuck into him because it was just like, what a dumb thing. He
Yeah.
was trying to say, oh, yeah, Damien, but look, all this violence has gone up. I'm like, in 26 years, violence has gone up. Well, duh, the population's gone up 42%, you
makes
freaking
sense.
moron.
Like the ratio is still going to be there. Yeah.
The 69% or 61% increase in armed robberies. If I walk into a place with a pointy stick and hold you up,
that's an
armed robbery.
Yeah.
Like, what are we going to ban pointy sticks?
Yeah, we
no,
are.
you can't.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? I mean, like, no one wants to be... Armed robbery is terrible, but this is different to someone walking into a school and shooting 20 children.
That doesn't happen here.
Exactly.
It's never happened here.
It's so funny because we do...
Hang on, has it?
Not recently.
I don't know.
I mean, there was the lint... Remember the lint incident?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that was full on. I don't know, did a couple die, I think?
Yeah.
But that's been it.
But he also had some serious mental health. Wasn't he anti-Muslim? It was like a statement against
like
immigration or something. So let's go shoot people in a cafe.
Yeah, that was pretty full on.
I think that's more. Sorry to interrupt. I think that's more of the case, isn't it? That these aren't like. People are like, it's not the guns. These people, because people will say, there's mental health issues and these are the people that do it. So we need to focus on the education and the mental health. Yes, but if they can't just walk into a place and get an automatic weapon or a semi-automatic weapon, then their mental health issue is the only issue. You haven't given them the chance to initiate or to play out their hatred or whatever because of their mental health issues, and then we can focus on the mental health.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on. Yep.
No, I don't know what I was going to say. No, I agree. Like, I think that we can name the couple of mass murders or moments because they've been so minimal in Australia, whereas you can't actually just name them all in America. Like, we all know Columbine, obviously.
Yep.
We all know. The Joker one, yeah. But there's been at least 10 this year.
Well, how about all the black people that get murdered by police? We don't hear about all of them unless it's like an extreme circumstance.
Yeah.
And how about just gang violence?
Yeah, we hear about
just
nothing.
killing people there.
But it's
how about like sex workers just getting murdered?
Yeah, I mean, it's constant, lynchings and everything goes on. That's why everyone should really follow Sean King because he always talks about like black murders and how often it happens, and it's actually scary how often it happens.
And there was someone else threw in the comment where they said, in America, it's something like 20,000 people or 50,000 people get shot in a year versus 200 in Australia. And it might have even been in that time, maybe since 1996, whatever, 200 people have been killed by guns versus 50,000 in the US. That was probably more likely because 50,000 in a year is a lot. I'm going to say in the 26 years it's been that many people. But then it's kind of like I stopped myself from saying, yes, 50,000 people in the US have been shot, 200 people in Australia have been shot in that time. However, by percentage, we've got to look at that as well because there's 260 million people live in the US.
But even if you times that by 10, that's still only...
the same.
Is that 20,000? 200 times? No, 2,000.
2,000, yeah.
That's still
so
nothing,
it's a
really.
Fucking huge number.
Like that's.
And we're also, when you say gun violence, suicides. Like people, and I hate to get into this as like it's a dark subject, but if you want to kill yourself in Australia, you can't just grab a gun and blow your head off.
No, you can't.
Yeah, you have to.
There are other ways to do it.
You have to be a bit more creative.
Yeah.
But in America, you want to kill yourself, go to a gun shop, get a gun,
done,
pop around the corner and blow your head off.
Yeah.
If you're so inclined.
That's the thing. Like, I mean, I can't believe how easy it is to get guns. It's insane.
I hope this. Sorry to trigger people.
Yes.
But like talking about suicide is hard, but it's it is that.
Yeah.
It is one of the factors in gun violence. Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's okay. Okay. Can we change the subject?
Yes, please.
Okay, because
I'm getting angry.
I know, only because last time before we were going to record, when we didn't record, so we're totally changing the subject, by the way, back to dating.
Yep.
So remember, I sent you that message, and I said, "This is not about relationship hopping. This is just about me and my dating life."
Yep.
I messaged a guy about going for a coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can we?
Yeah.
Let's talk about this.
Yeah. Well, okay. So do you want to give more context?
Okay, so he's a guy that I know from the gym. He's another personal trainer. We've chatted often, like, you know, I've seen him at like swimming lessons because he's got a son, and we've chatted. And
He's
like,
not a
you know,
stranger.
No, not at all. And I know I know a friend of his, etc. Okay, So he's a guy. We've chatted. He's attractive. He's a personal trainer. So I was like, oh, you know what?
Gotta shoot my shot.
Why not? I'm going to ask him out for coffee.
Yeah.
What can he say? Well,
What he did say.
what?
And I remember you messaging me because you're like, okay, so I've done this thing. And I think you referred to it as like a 90s thing. And I'm like,
Yeah.
man, women didn't ask men out in the 90s. That's a very modern 2022 thing. So well done. Go
Thanks.
to you.
Yeah, I was like, stop
I think
it.
you were referring to the actual asking someone rather than meeting them on a dating app.
Yeah.
But you were like, okay, so I've asked this guy out for coffee. I'm just waiting for his response. And then you've messaged me and you're like, oh my God, I've just read the first line.
Yeah.
Because it comes up in your notification. So you only see the first part of your notification. And it started as...
Oh, it started off, well, I appreciate the offer. That was the first sentence.
So then I've gone, well, he could be saying, I don't normally do this, but yes, because you were like, this is going to be no. This is going to be no.
Yeah. Right? Do you want me to read the next bit?
Carry on. Read the whole thing. Yeah.
So he said, well, I appreciate the offer. Full stop. If I ever acquire the taste for coffee, lol, I'll ask. And then he did the, what's that called? That's the okay symbol. Yeah.
Forefinger touching.
Yeah, the one for like
circle
that they use a lot in scuba diving.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's super patronizing.
Isn't it just?
Even using that little
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Now, and I said this to you at the time, what a freaking power tripping response.
Yeah.
Because what he's done is he's gone, well, she likes me, so therefore... when I'm ready, I'm going to ask her out and she's definitely going to say yes. But right now, she's not good enough for me. But when I don't have any other options, I'm there. But you don't have to do... Well, if I ever develop a taste for coffee, what the hell is wrong with just saying, thanks, but I'm not interested
No,
on that level.
That would have been nice. I'd have been like, cool, okay, well, I mean, like... Yeah.
Because now he's just outed himself as a dick.
Totally. Yeah. And I've shown so many people that
and
message.
he could have just like saved face and gone, thanks, but I'm not interested in that way.
Yeah.
And then your opinion would not have changed. He just would have gone, cool.
Yeah.
Now I know, moving on.
Yeah.
But that kind of response, that's some egotistical bullshit right there.
Right. And now it makes me go, you know what? I don't want to go to this gym anymore because I don't want to see his face because what a tosser.
What a tosser. Yeah.
So I'll move gyms.
That's extreme, but whatever. You know?
Yeah.
I was kind of like, because I've actually relayed this to other people.
Oh, yeah.
And they're just like, I haven't even finished speaking telling them what's happening. They're like, ugh. What a gross way to respond. I'm like, isn't it?
Yes.
Like, I can't believe he thought that was okay. Like, what? I could see him, like, flexing in the mirror while he said it and kissing his biceps. Like, I am so wonderful. She must want my body. Oh. Sorry, I didn't need to put on an accent there.
That's fine. And he definitely doesn't have an accent.
He'd be in trouble if he did.
Right. Shut up. So I've never been so shocked in my life at like a response like that. Like,
it's not cool.
It's not cool. And also, like, go me for like messaging and then ruins that experience for me.
Yeah, but you know that you can't.
Oh no, I can't be like, I'm not going to message anyone. I'm not going to do that. But I'm just like, I've never had a response like that.
Yeah,
like
just that makes me think of something. I don't know if we've spoken about before. The whole not all men thing, because like you feel like, oh well, not all men are like that.
No.
Which is true. Not all men are dickheads. Just a lot of them are. And then people get that whole like, oh, not all men. You know, when you see it online, and it's mainly men going, you see it in single groups and going, oh, that's not everyone. Yeah. Not everyone is going to ghost you. Not everyone wants sex. Some of us are nice guys.
Yeah, nice guys.
Unquote.
Yeah.
Nice guys finish last. Actually, that brings me into the friend zone. We'll touch on that a little bit because you weren't there for that conversation. But that whole, like, not all men thing, I've used the analogy of if you had a bag of Maltesers.
Oh, yeah.
And one of them was...
I just wouldn't eat any of the bag.
Yeah, that's right. We've discussed this. Another one was, I saw online, if I threw you into a pit full of snakes and told you that 3 of those snakes were venomous and didn't tell you which ones, you're going to be scared of all of them.
I mean, totally.
If you don't know anything, if you live in Australia, and we're a little bit different, but if you come from another country to Australia and you see a spider, you leave that spider alone because you don't know if that's a Sydney funnel web. If you don't know about spiders, that could be a spider that's going to fuck your life.
It's like daddy long legs. They look so like, ooh, but you're like, can't hurt you.
Yeah.
I mean, could if they could like, open their mouth more.
And if they were big enough to hold enough venom to do you any harm. They are venomous, but they're so small. They don't carry enough venom to harm you, and they don't have big enough teeth.
Yes.
So they can't hurt you.
They could be very dangerous.
Hi everyone, Damo here. Just having a brief intermission just to advise you that at this point in time, our recording software crashed. So we're right in the middle of a excellent story about Daddy Longlegs, and I thought I'd leave this in so you could enjoy the humour of the comeback, and mainly because it was just too hard to edit, so I just thought I'd leave it as it was. So anyway, we'll carry on and stick around for the last 10 minutes of the show.
Okay.
Holy shit. It was just zoomed out. So anyway, cats like to eat, lady. What are we talking about? Daddy long legs. So not knowing what's dangerous. You weren't here last week. Or actually, you were here because we're at your house.
Yes,
but
I
last
was here.
Week,
I was. We didn't. I wasn't recording the podcast with you.
You didn't attend.
No, I wasn't.
You should see the setup I had as well.
Yeah,
I put the big TV on the thing. I
missed out
because we did it in the lounge room.
I'll see it next week.
Yeah, you can probably tell from the echo. Although we'll go back into the study to do it because it sounds better in a small room. But we did it in the lounge room, which is why that it's so echoey.
Yeah,
and also 3 microphones is hard to manage.
I bet.
But can you, in brief, because we're right at the end of the show.
Yes. Okay.
Can you tell me about the friend zone, please?
Tell you what I think about the friend zone.
Yep.
Well, I think it's a load of rubbish.
It is. I think we pretty much resolved that in last week's episode.
Yeah, you totally did. I really enjoyed last week's episode.
Thank you.
Just, the guests were awesome. Very different to me, which sometimes makes for, a good break.
Yeah. Very different people. I've known Cameron for a few years. We used to work together. But Bernadette, I've only met her once, never spoken to her when she was walking through town with Cameron, and I stopped to have a chat at the traffic lights, and that was it. I was on my way to work. But it was really nice getting to know her and getting her perspective. But what did you think about
So I think I've watched a lot of romantic comedies in my life, and I feel that I blame Hollywood for this whole friend zone thing, and I think Bernadette sort of brought that up.
Yeah.
Well, she did, and I 100% believe that that's where this idea of the nerdy guy is only ever going to be the friend, and that that it's always that girls immediately put guys into the friend zone or vice versa. I think it's a load of rubbish. I think
it's toxic.
Yeah. And it's awful to the person that is friend zoned.
Yeah. But the person who friend zoned them didn't friend zone them. The person who's in the friend zone created their own interpretation of the friend zone.
That's true. I remember saying though to Sarah that I think I may have even said this to you, that I often feel like I'm broed. People bro me, guys bro me. But that's my opinion.
Yeah.
That's no one else's.
They're not doing that on purpose.
No.
And that's nothing to... Because you said to me, am I the type of person who people just want to be friends with? I'm like, no.
No.
But it's... Maybe it's something that's happened enough times for you to go, this is what's happening. But I don't think that people who want you to be friends are necessarily devaluing you as a person. I think that's the thing, is that people who think they've been friend zoned think that they've been devalued because they're not good enough to have sex with. That's what it's about.
And that's the thing. And the person if a woman is put in the friend zone, we usually we just move on. It's definitely males get offended that they aren't king of the jungle.
Yeah, and I think that Bernadette brought up the biggest point for me, which I found a revelation because I hadn't considered it, is women will talk to other women about anything, and they'll share their emotions and their feelings and opinions on a lot of things. a lot of men, and we've just come from not all men, a lot of men don't do that. So when they become friends with a woman, they're not used to being friends with someone who shares their feelings and emotions and opinions on such a deep level. And what they do is they go, oh, only a girlfriend or someone who's interested in me would talk to me this way. So therefore I'm going to get laid. I'm about to get a girlfriend. And then when they shoot their shot and the girl's like, oh, no, I'm only interested in you as a friend. They're like, oh, what? But, you told me all this intimate stuff. You acted like there was something there. No, she didn't. She was trusting you and you were being a friend. Another one was the guy who doesn't actually shoot his shot and just kind of hangs around being friendly. And so the woman's like, oh, he must just want to be my friend, and then treats you like a friend. And then when you're like, oh, why am I just your friend? It's like, you gave me no indication that you wanted to be more than friends.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, and I think that happens all the time. But I think, like, we're friends.
Yeah.
And, like, I tell you a lot of shit and vice versa.
Yeah, but I'm a little bit different.
You are
to a lot of men.
No, you really are, and I think, but it's so nice in that I know that I can tell you a lot of crap about my life, and like, but everyone's like, "Oh, you and Damo must totally want to be together." I'm like, "No, we're just friends."
This is what friends do.
Yeah,
like would you say that if there was two women here on the show?
Exactly. Oh, you guys must totally want to be together.
Yeah.
Like, and girls can be friends, and nothing is said. Like, but the minute a male and female are friends, there's this attitude that, oh, well, you can't be friends. And that's the thing. They say that you can't be friends if you're opposite sex.
It's like you also, and I think we touched on this last week as well, if you see two girls walking down the street and they hold hands, you don't automatically assume that they're homosexual. You don't. You're just like, oh, they're just friends.
Yeah.
Like, old women do it. You see old ladies going shopping together in their like 80s and they're holding hands, probably holding each other up.
Possibly.
Or it's some sort of safety or it's just...
Yeah.
Men can't do that. If men touch each other, people are like, oh my God, that's so gay.
Do you know what's really sad? So, yeah, I agree. Yeah. When I was at high school, though, I used to have a best friend. I was in year 9, and I used to walk arm in arm with her. She stopped being friends with me because people were saying we were lesbians.
Yep.
And then her mum was concerned that. And so suddenly I was dumped from a friendship group.
Yeah.
So... yeah, and that's a generational thing.
Yeah, because I remember being a little kid and, like, I've got photos of me and my best mate, Carl.
Yeah.
And we're arm in arm. And we used to walk around with our arms on each other's shoulder.
Yeah.
But as a little boy, that eventually you stop doing that because you're like, oh, I don't want people to think I'm gay.
Yeah.
Because in that generation, being gay was bad.
Yes.
It's not bad.
No.
Like, we know these days we tell people it's not bad at all.
100%.
And, like, with Billy, there was in one of her shows, there's like a couple, like there was two boys that liked each other, and I highlighted that. I'm like, oh, does that boy like the other boy? And she's like, yeah, I think so.
Yeah, who cares? Yeah.
Whatever. Like, because it was just so normal.
Yeah.
And I was just like, yeah, cool, because I was just talking about it. I'm like, I think that boy's got a crush on the other boy.
Yeah.
And she's like, really? I'm like, yeah. Like the way that he kind of acts around that boy, I'm pretty sure he's got a crush on him. And she's like, oh yeah, probably.
So, and
I was super proud.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's interesting because Joshua said to me one day, he goes, Mum, the rainbow flag, does that mean it's only for gay people? And I'm like, no. I said, it's just representative of that, of like, lesbian gays. I said, but you can still love rainbows.
Yeah.
Anyone can love rainbows. I love rainbows. Yeah. And he's like, okay, cool. I'm just checking because I had a rainbow and some people said that's only for lesbian and gay people. And I'm like, no. Rainbows are just beautiful. Yeah. It just represents them. Yeah, that's their flag.
You can be supportive of them.
Yeah. But I said, but you can still love rainbows.
Yeah.
Whether you're gay, lesbian, whatever.
And at the end of the day, being called gay is not a bad thing because, like, some of the gay people I know have like super awesome style.
Yeah.
And I'm like, shit, yeah, if you want to lump me in that category, they'll take that as a compliment.
So whereas I sometimes wonder, I've always had this panic where I'm like, oh my God, do I look like a butch, like dyke?
Yeah.
And good for them, but I don't want to look like that. But I think I'm just panicking.
Like, I think that's also like, that's one little category of humans as well.
It really
There's
is.
plenty of like really pretty girly girls.
Yeah,
and gay.
yeah.
Same with men. Like
heaps, actually.
I've got a mate who's like, he's a tall guy. He's a heavy set kind of dude. He's got a big beard and he just dresses kind of like, he's super straight looking, let's say. but you talk to him and you're like, oh, you're as gay as.
Yeah.
Because you can hear in his voice.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh my God, am I judging you because you got a gay? But he does. He have like, let's just face it, he's got a campy gay
Yeah.
sounding
Yeah.
accent. You know, they have that kind of thing.
They do.
But
yeah.
But yeah, it's like put him next to, Julian Clary, for
Yeah.
example, and you're
Yes.
kind of like, oh wow, okay, that's a huge difference, because it's not about what you look like
No.
or anything else. It's about who you are inside. And
Exactly.
You don't have to. Succumb to or what am I saying? Comply to any predetermined expectations of how you should act, whether you're straight or gay or
whatever.
trans or
Yeah.
anything. You do whatever you want. Elliot Page is a good-looking man.
Yeah.
He used to be a woman.
Yeah, but really good looking man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He makes a good man.
Doesn't
Yeah.
he? Like, I look at his like beautiful covers, and they are beautiful because he's
Yeah.
like, he looks sexy.
Yep.
And I'm like, wow, he is so good looking as a
Yeah.
man. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm attracted to that. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he's someone that I'd kind of like you'd hang out with.
Yeah.
Seems
I
really
think he'd be
nice, yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've actually
Very intelligent.
It's encouraged me to start watching Umbrella Academy.
Oh, really?
like,
I've been R-ing, so okay, I will.
I started
then.
watching it last night and fell asleep in the first 2.5 minutes, but that's my own
That's
fault
maybe 'cause
I
you're tired.
just finished watching the last 3 episodes of The Lazarus Project on Stan.
Oh, I see again. I've looked at that and gone, should I? Shouldn't I?
Yeah, I've seen people criticize it as, it's just another Groundhog Day clone. No, it's not. It's nothing like it. Yes, there is time travel involved.
Yeah.
And yes, it does involve resetting
Yes.
a clock and going
Yeah.
back and living. But it's not like you're trapped in that. There's elements of it.
Yeah.
But I really encourage people to watch it.
I might
It's
watch it
really good.
then.
I really hate series that you get to because only 8 episodes and you get to the last episode
And you're
and
sad.
it's like, no, it's just, well, yeah, but it's just like, you bastards of like
Yeah.
just in the last 10 minutes of this episode, you've set up an entirely new storyline. And
Ready for
now I
season
have
2.
to wait for
Yeah.
season 2, you
Yeah.
pricks. Whereas, like, I just also finished watching Obi-Wan Kenobi, and they've teased at there's other things that are going to happen. But we already know that because it's set in that 20-year period between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope,
Yeah.
where Obi-Wan Kenobi is on Tatooine and, Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker becomes Darth Vader and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
develops that evil. So, yeah, this only touches on 10 years later, so right in the middle of it.
Yeah.
So, of course, there's other things.
Yeah.
And they can say whatever they want. So that's okay. They kind of wrapped it up, though. But this, I got to the end of it and I'm like, you pricks.
Yeah, meanies.
Why did you suck me in?
Because that's the fun of
That's how it
television.
works. But at least when it comes out, I'll be able to watch the whole thing in one go. So,
That's true.
But
Awesome.
anyway.
I just feel like there's about to be a lot of children arrive in the house.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Segueing into a lot of things in one go, we've discussed many things.
We have.
But that's,
yes.
Yeah, it's been a little while.
It has. We
So,
had a lot to say.
Yeah. So hopefully, moving forwards, we can go back to our weekly episodes.
Yes, definitely.
And give us some feedback on
Would love
friend
it.
zone,
Yeah.
relationship jumping. Message us. Someone actually did message a couple of weeks ago, and I've forgotten about this. We should talk about this. If we just want to put a shout out to people who have been widowed or
Yes.
yeah,
yes.
if
But
your
widow
partner-
versus relationship breakup.
yeah, if you've got a partner who's passed away, what's that like getting into dating?
Yeah,
because the perception versus
yeah.
like breaking up with
Yeah.
someone.
And
Because-
dating as a single parent, a solo parent, as a widow or widower,
Yeah.
where you don't have that ability to throw your child at the other parent every fortnight
I mean,
or whatever.
You might have family support. But,
Yeah.
I mean, like, well, I don't, but I also don't have a dead ex-partner.
No, but you have consistent,
Yeah.
like sharing of a child.
And you also, like, when you break up with someone, it's easier to kind of, like, remove yourself from them emotionally.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're madly in love with someone
Yeah.
and they die, you might be in love with them for the rest of your life, even while they're already dead.
I read an article about how when you break up with someone, you only remember the shit, right? But
Yeah.
when someone dies, no matter how bad it was, you only remember the good.
Yeah.
So then it's very hard to move on from the fact that person was a saint.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
that all you're remembering is the good.
You're having to replace someone that you didn't have a choice in.
Yeah,
them
so in
going,
your
yeah.
eye, and you always only remember the good stuff, that your marriage or relationship was perfect.
Although I think some people in marriage or relationship breakups treat their ex like they were dead, but just
Yeah.
completely removing them from their
I
lives.
mean, that would be nice if I...
Anyway, on that note, send us in. Because
Yeah.
personally, I don't have any experience in this.
Either do I. Just from I've got a widow friend.
Yep.
So and she, you've met her.
Yep.
So we should get some feedback
Well,
from
yeah.
her.
Anyone, if you can please send us an email, because I didn't mention this
Skye
in the show last
and
week.
Damo@gmail.com.
Please. And we're going to sing the rest of it now. And we've got In My Lounge Room at Instagram.
Yeah,
On
and
Instagram.
In My Lounge Room podcast on Facebook.
On Facebook, yes. And that's it. And we'll see you again. Thanks for being patient with us over the last couple of weeks.
Yes.
And I hope you're still listening. We haven't gone away.
We are here.
We'll be coming back and more episodes to come.
Can't wait.
Excellent.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to In My Lounge Room. All music on this week's episode of In My Lounge Room was written and performed by Damien McKay. Apologies for In My Lounge Room being late this week, but I've got COVID and that's life, I suppose, these days. But thanks for sticking around and yeah, we'll be back.